Welcome to this short video on consumer survey insights. In this video, we will take a look at what is consumer survey, why it is important to analyze this data, and will be introduced to Crosstab, a powerful tool to analyze survey data and derive insights. We at Thorogood work with market leaders to analyze extremely large volumes of consumer survey data and produce insights which are effective and help businesses navigate changes in the market. We often combine internal surveys with publicly available survey data to create effective dashboards and leverage cross-tab reports to better understand the consumer trends. Now, whether you're a large service provider, big name label selling the latest fashion, or if you're a florist at the local farmers market, in today's age of information, a business that understands its consumer tends to be better at navigating market trends and finding success. It's important to understand your consumer to be able to provide products and services that are best suited to the need of the hour. One of the most common ways businesses get to know their consumers is by conducting consumer surveys. These can be as simple as asking whether a consumer liked a product or a detailed questionnaire listing out the options for different features of the product. We have all seen requests for feedbacks or ratings. These prompts can be easily seen when using different apps on your smartphone, asking you to rate them on the App Store, or e-commerce sites asking you which part of purchasing the product was the smoothest. So why is it important to conduct these surveys? Well, first and foremost, it is used to collect feedback. This could be feedback on satisfaction with a product or service, or even specific feedback regarding the features of a product. For example, the taste of a chocolate or the shade of a pen. Surveys allow us to gather feedback from a wide audience, but can also easily be customized to a specific group. For example, asking school students about the helpfulness of a guidebook. Having specific audience allows businesses to narrow down the target consumer and cater the product or service to that specific group. It's also a great way to understand how the brand is perceived amongst the public and what the opinions and expectations are from a specific brand or service. It is also important to understand the results of the surveys and identify patterns and trends within the consumer which are indicative of the buying habits. And one of the common use of surveys is also to measure or showcase the success of a product or a service and help businesses achieve better results. Let us take a look at what simple survey analysis can look like. Here we have a customer satisfaction survey. We can see basic insights from this, such as the overall satisfaction of the customer, what is the role of the customers surveyed, and how long they had been with the business. While it helps to understand that 40% of the customers are teachers, for example, and that 73% of the customers found the service good or excellent, it doesn't tell us exactly how many teachers found the service excellent. This is an important insight as teachers make up the largest part of the customer base, so it's useful to understand how they find the service to increase the satisfaction amongst them. Similarly, we do not know what percent of designers, for example, have been with the service for a year. This could be a target customer for the business and therefore would be an important insight. As you can imagine, there's a lot more we can do with this data by simply changing the way we look at it. Surveys conducted by businesses gather a very large volume of data, and we make it easier for a business to recognize characteristics and patterns by analyzing the data in a cross-tabulation format, commonly known as crosstab. Let's try to understand what exactly is crosstab and how we can use it to analyze survey data. By definition, we can say that a crosstab is just a table where we can show the relationship between two or more variables. But let's try to understand this better with an example. Let's say we have a survey where we ask the consumers for their education, gender, occupation, and what is their preferred beverage. And we have a large number of replies. We can now represent this data in a crosstab to identify different relationships. For example, we can understand the relationship between gender and education by putting the gender on columns and the education on rows. Now, this tells us what percentage of male, female, and other genders have high school degrees, bachelor's degrees, and master's degrees. Now, this is just for two variables, but what if we wanted to add occupation into this crosstab? By adding occupation in the rows, we now have two levels of information available in the rows. The first level tells us about the education, while the second level tells us about the occupation. So, for example, we can see the breakdown of the male gender with a high school degree by their occupations. Crosstab can lead to useful and interesting insights when used correctly. Let us now look at a crosstab report which was created by Thorogood to analyze a specific data set. This dataset contains responses of people who were asked about their smoking habits, preferences, along with questions about their profile, and is for the Belgium market. First thing you see is that there are slices available at the top of the report. These are used to filter the data. For example, period filter can be used to select the quarter and year for which we want to see the data. Similarly, the respondents filter can be used to filter and restrict the responses to a specific region. So if I select Brussels, we can see the numbers changing here. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to leave it to the entire market and not filter it. Let's start with looking at the single level matrix. In this matrix, we have selected two variables, age and gender. We can see that for specific age brackets, we have the corresponding number of respondents by their gender. When we are looking at these numbers themselves, it might be hard to understand the trends, which is why we have the option of having operators. For example, if we move to row percentage, we can see each row sums up to 100%. This allows us to understand the split within each row. So in this case, we can see the gender split for each age group. So there is 33% female between age 18 and 24, whereas it's 67% male respondents. Similarly, we have column percentage, where we can see the split across different age groups for both male and female. Female 39% is split by these percentages amongst the different age brackets. Now, if we wanted to look at variables other than maybe just age and gender, we have the first level button on the top, which allows us to do just that. Let me change the age row level to instead be education. And now we have relationship between education and gender. And let me change the gender on the columns to maybe income. And now we have a relationship between education and income for these respondents. So, for example, we can see that highest percentage of high income classification respondents were those with graduate or postgraduate degree. Now, this is for two variables. What if we wanted to look at more than two variables? First, let us change the first level back to age, and in the rows, and in columns, we want to do region. This helps us to recognize the different regions we have within Belgium and how those percentages will look like. Also, let's change to total percentage to have those numbers split evenly between these regions. Now, if I select multi-level matrix, we can see that there have been other classifications which have been added under row and columns. To first understand what are these, I will click on nested level to see what are my nested level categories. So under rows, we have added social and non-social smoking habits, and under column, we have now added gender. What this means is that within the region, we also have each of the three regions in this case, and within those regions, we have their male and female nested level calculations as well. If you look at the matrix, you can see that, for example, in Brussels, the largest percentage of age group respondents were 4.3% in the age category of 25 to 34, but in the region of Flanders, it was 45 to 54, closely followed by 35 to 44. And in the region of Wallonia, we had somewhat even split between the three middle age groups. Now, if I wanted to analyze the social smoking trends for the age group of, say, 25 to 34, we can drill further down on rows to analyze the nested row level data. Here, we can see that amongst different options across all three regions, we can see the highest percentage of smokers preferred to smoke at home. We can get further insights too. For example, in Brussels, the second largest percentage of smoking after home for men was workplace, but for women, it was a cafe, for example. We can use this crosstab to change the rows and columns to get more insights. For example, how does marital status affect the smoking behavior of a respondent? We can change the rows and columns to have many of these variables which are available in this report. Hopefully, this has been a good introduction to consumer survey data and the powerful tool known as Crosstab. Please let us know if you would like for us to dive deeper into the endless possibilities of Crosstab. My name is Ahraz, and we at Thorogood are happy to discuss Crosstab as well as other analytical tools best suited for your business needs. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or via email. Thank you and goodbye.